Hello friends! In this video I will finalize my thoughts about choosing a non-profit or business in cryonics. I hope that in my previous videos I managed to debunk popular stereotypes regarding non-profits. As soon as you create a separate, safe, non-profit organization for long-term storage, it doesn't matter what type of main organization you choose, it will be safe anyway. In 2025, it's pretty challenging to start a cryonics organization. If you have come to the point of opening a cryonics organization, I assume you have a moderate cryonics community of at least 50 members, and most probably 2-5 members are very active. They are ready to dedicate their time, work for free and build an organization to receive cryopreservation in the future. There are exceptions of course, but I would say this is a common starting point for cryonics organizations. There is about an 80% chance you will choose to start with a non-profit organization. Most probably you don't have an experienced entrepreneur or businessman in your cryonics community, and if you have one, most probably he spends his time doing business, and most probably he is not ready to exchange his business for a cryonics startup. Luckily, when no one from the active members know how to do business, this is not a big problem. 4 of the 5 biggest cryonics organizations started like this. If this is your case, it might be better to open a non-profit too. When you receive enough experience, you can switch to business, no problem with that. However, if you already have business experience and want to open a company in cryonics, then yes, just open a company. I don't see a reason to open a non-profit instead. A business is harder to start, but it is more rewarding than a non-profit in every aspect. And this is what I really want to explain in this video. In cryonics, a company is directly better than a non-profit organization. Even if you open a non-profit, consider switching to a business as soon as you can. I will give you a couple of examples so you will see how crucial the difference is. If you are not new to cryonics, you probably remember how everybody was hyped about Tomorrow Bio at its launch. While Alcor and CI had almost no clients for decades, Tomorrow Bio as a business organization received 160 members in just a year. Alcor received 160 members after 18 years. Cryonics Institute received 160 members after 24 years. When Tomorrow Bio organized its first biostasis conference in Zurich in 2021, it was a very big conference and many known cryonicists from Alcor and the Cryonics Institute were invited. I also attended this conference and I remember how jealous everybody was. This is Max Moore, he's Alcor's ex-CAO and he's representing his organization at this conference. He tries his best to show that Alcor is a very big, experienced and important organization, not to look so bad compared to Tomorrow Bio. Max even casually tells the story of how someone donated $5 million to Alcor. This story sounds very impressive. To receive $5 million. Until you realize that Tomorrow Bio probably received $5 million at the beginning, not after 50 years of operation. With this money, Tomorrow Bio built a well-equipped cryonics facility and bought a well-equipped emergency vehicles to cover multiple cities. They hired specialists for emergency teams and for the office. They ran a big advertising campaign. They even casually bought a CT scanner, which Alcor could not afford for decades. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that if you open a non-profit you will receive no money to start, and if you open a business you will receive millions as Tomorrow Bio. No, you can receive less than Tomorrow Bio. You can receive more than Tomorrow Bio. It really depends on your business skills and experience, on your connections, on your current income, on your country, etc. etc. What I really want to say is that a non-profit in cryonics will never be as successful as a business. How else can you explain that Alcor currently has about 50 new members per year, while Tomorrow Bio has 150 new members per year? This is 3 times more. These two organizations have the same pricing. On top of that, Alcor is 50 years old, while Tomorrow Bio is 5 years old. Is there any other explanations except that being a business is directly better? Tomorrow Bio streams on YouTube from time to time, and usually at the end of stream you can ask some questions about a company. On one of the previous Q&A sessions, I asked Tomorrow Bio's co-founder and CIO Emil Kenziora what would happen if they decided to go a non-profit instead. And this is what he replied.
How much funding would you receive if you decide to make Tomorrow Bio a traditional non-profit? Would you grow as fast? No. So Tomorrow Bio, or like the European Biostasis Foundation, started out as only non-profit. The problem, there's a tremendous amount of people out there who say, we talk to a lot of people who say, yes, I understand why it needs to be a non-profit. I'm for it. And then we ask them, okay, do you want to donate some money? And then they're like, nah, donations are not things I do. So we set up Tomorrow now in this dual structure where the long-term storage is all with the non-profit part, and the day-to-day is a company, but it has like oversight from the non-profit, so to make sure that it stays mission aligned and giving us the opportunity to act significantly faster. And I think since we're now in a field which has been around for decades and decades and hasn't done, progress has been way slower than I would have ever hoped, I think it's a good trade-off.
Do you want to know what would really happen if Tomorrow Bio decided to be a non-profit? I can show you exactly what would happen, because I have a very good example of an organization that started almost at the same time as Tomorrow Bio, but decided to remain a non-profit. And this is Southern Cryonics. Southern Cryonics is based in Australia. You might be surprised, as I was, but the median income in Australia is almost equal to that in Germany, where Tomorrow Bio is based. It means then in Australia people basically have the same amount of money to spend as in Germany and can afford the same services. So we have no financial differences. Australia also had a pretty big cryonics community when Southern Cryonics was launched. Maybe even more motivated community than in Germany, and you will see why. Southern Cryonics was founded in 2015. They needed money to build a cryonics facility and buy some equipment. However, because a non-profit organization cannot receive any investments, the only way to receive initial funding for non-profit is to open some kind of pre-orders for their services. This is what Southern Cryonics did. Their regular price for the entire cryopreservation procedure is $150,000. They opened pre-orders at 1/3 of the price, and by the year 2020 collected money from 24 clients. After that, they increased the price of pre-orders to $70,000, which is about half the regular price, and sold 5 more contracts by the year 2021. In total, they sold pre-orders for about $1.5 million. This is good money, but a noticeably smaller amount than what Tomorrow Bio received. It looks like it was enough only to build a facility and buy the necessary equipment. Southern Cryonics didn't have money even to pay for advertisements. I haven't found any big YouTube channel or newspaper advertising them. If you think their website is outdated, it looked even worse before. All the links go to the FAQ page, where you can read that they are planning to receive 4 patients in 28 years. Are they going to just sit and wait and do nothing for the next 28 years? I mean, it sounds so depressing. Thanks God these guys have optimism, so don't worry about them. They will be fine. And Southern Cryonics looks so bad despite the fact that they used to have a more active community. While the German community is mostly young people who signed insurance-based contracts, the Australian community is people who paid for services in advance, which requires much more dedication if you think about it. With a more active community, Southern Cryonics received less money and looks much worse. While Tomorrow Bio can always retrieve additional investments to extend, nobody will give additional money to Southern Cryonics because it's non-profit. Thus $1.5 million is all they got. If Southern Cryonics does not become a company, it has all the chances to repeat the shameful experience of Alcor and Cryonics Institute, who were sitting and waiting for their clients for decades. So the estimation of 28 years can be true. And this is exactly what Tomorrow Bio would become if it decides to become a non-profit. You would see an exact copy of Southern Cryonics, but in Germany. And there are really no examples in cryonics when a non-profit looks better than a company. Do you think the Cryonics Institute is doing better? There is a Russian company, KrioRus. They started 30 years later than the Cryonics Institute. They started with almost no money. On top of that, they have the same prices as the Cryonics Institute. But the median income in Russia is at least 4 times smaller than in the United States. Despite KrioRus having serious disadvantages, they did not outpace Cryonics Institute. They have fewer patients, both humans and animals, but they do not look so bad compared to the Cryonics Institute. And when a Russian organization looks so bad compared to American one, you know there is something really wrong with a non-profit model. Does it mean it is better to open a company instead? No, if you have a cryonics community and you want to open an organization, most probably you will start with a non-profit model, because most probably you don't have the necessary business experience yet. Just remember that a company in cryonics is directly better than a non-profit in terms of efficiency. So when you feel you're already experienced enough, consider switching to a company. You can do this quite easily, just open a company and make your old non-profit organization only responsible for long-term storage. Basically, Tomorrow Bio did this at the beginning. There is nothing complicated about it. Can you remain a non-profit regardless of everything? Well, I guess yes, if you want a small local organization just to serve a very limited number of people, a non-profit would be suitable for that. Just remember that the chances of receiving good cryopreservation in that organization will be smaller. When you have a small number of clients, it is not only about money, you know. It is not only about area coverage and availability of local teams. It's also about the support that your organization can receive. If nobody knows about your organization, if nobody has worked with you before, they will not support you. When police have never heard about your organization, you can expect them to become surprised and suspicious and schedule an autopsy for your patient. When doctors do not know you, you can expect them to refuse to perform initial cooling or cardiopulmonary support after the client's death. You can expect to receive a refusal if you ask to cancel or simplify an autopsy or to perform it out of turn. When airlines and airport employees do not know you, you can expect delays with transferring your equipment by air. When dry ice suppliers do not have your phone number on their contacts, they will not pick up the phone at night. In case of emergency, nobody will pick up a phone at night to help you. The small, cozy organization where everybody knows each other, it feels warm and friendly, but it is not as safe as some people imagine. It is not as good to be small and invisible as it may sound. To be honest, I hope Southern Cryonics will change their mind too and start a normal business practice, because their current plan to suffer for 28 years doesn't look very great. Come on guys, you are serving the entire continent. I'm sure you can do better than this.